This week on the show, we talk about other countries taking the lead in cannabis legalization, where you can find the best hemp-derived CBD on the market, and the DEA has rescheduled CBD. But it's not as great as it sounds. No surprise there. My name is Tim Stromble. Welcome to Rooted. Welcome to the show. This week our show is brought to you by the awesome folks over at BlueBird Botanicals, one of the finest hemp-based CBD producers in the country and one of my favorite companies in the industry. I love those guys, but more on them in our featured business segment in just a minute, so stay tuned. Top story today. Recently, the DEA made pretty big news when it announced that CBD, a cannabinoid found in cannabis, as well as hemp, was being moved from Schedule 1, where the DEA keeps drugs like cocaine and heroin, all the way down to Schedule 5, which is the least regulated of the drug categories. Seems like great news. However, this move only applies to federally approved drugs, meaning through the FDA. Now, as it sits right now, there's only 1 or 2 FDA-approved CBD medications on the market. So in reality, while this announcement seems like progress, very little is actually going to change. And while some would argue that all progress is good progress, and certainly we've talked about that on the show before, others might say the government has ulterior motives in mind. I'm maybe one of those people. Let's debate it on this week's Two Sides. On one hand, you'd have to say all progress is good progress, and this is the first time in 46 years that the DEA has evolved its stance on CBD. So even if it's limited in scope, this is a big deal. CBD is the first part of the cannabis plant that has been rescheduled, and it could be the first step in the overall legalization of cannabis. Only time will tell. Additionally, there are some CBD producers I've talked to who are viewing this as a positive, even though it doesn't help their products yet, as FDA-approved products are highly regulated, which in theory should weed out, no pun intended, the snake oil companies looking to capitalize on the CBD boom while putting out an inferior product. Now on the flip side, those companies who are producing an A-grade product of CBD, like BlueBird Botanicals, by the way, who publishes up-to-date lab test results on all of their products, check them out at bluebirdbotanicals.com, by the way, they will be able to thrive once further legalization takes place because their product is good. Now, if CBD is going to be marketed for medical purposes, there needs to be more federal testing and regulation, sorry to say it, to ensure patient safety and the quality and consistency of the product being sold. So I would say that while we would all obviously like to see CBD rescheduled entirely, it makes sense to take baby steps and to build the system slowly, rather than going too big, too soon with full legalization and unleashing what some would say is an inconsistent market that offers as many gold medal products as it does duds who are just looking to grab a piece of the pie. Now, the fact is, doctors can now prescribe medical CBD to patients. Something no one has said for a long time, if ever, which is a huge development and one we should spend at least a couple of moments enjoying being happy about. On the other hand, this move stinks of government agenda and the pharmaceutical industry's impact on drug enforcement in the United States. I mean, think about it for a minute. Creating an FDA-approved drug takes an immense amount of time, money, and resources, and most of the current CBD producers don't have the financial backing to go through the process. But you know who does? You guessed it. Large pharmaceutical companies who can afford to either buy up smaller CBD companies or who have the resources to play catch-up, quickly developing their own products now that CBD has been rescheduled. Both options pose a large threat to small and medium-sized businesses looking to compete in the medical market while paving the way for large pharmaceutical companies to grab the lion's share of the newly created legal market. Many current CBD producers have been in it for years, helping to pave the way for the rescheduling of CBD that has just happened in the first place. Now it looks like many of them could be forced out because their pockets aren't deep enough. Before long, CBD might just be another drug on the shelves that patients pay too much for because there's no other option. We would all hate to see it happen that way, and I really hope it doesn't happen that way. So what do you think? Is this an overall positive step for the CBD industry, or is it just the government trying to regulate everyone out of the industry and give the profits to the people they want to? Hit up our Facebook page and comment your thoughts, and we'll share the results in a future episode. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the show. Now let's get to business. Our featured company this week is BlueBird Botanicals. Not only one of my favorite CBD companies in the space right now, but one of the highest ranked hemp extract and CBD companies in the industry today. Go ahead, research for yourself. I'll wait. What I love about BlueBird is the transparency of their products. BlueBird posts the test results of each batch of their products on their website, allowing you to look up exactly what is in the CBD product you're taking. Or if you haven't made the purchasing decision yet, you can research the products more thoroughly before you make that purchase. Additionally, BlueBird's customer service team is incredibly knowledgeable and willing to sit on the phone with you to explain their products, how to take them, and which of their products you should start with depending on what you're looking for. Which is great because they offer extracts, concentrated extracts, capsules, vape oil, isolates, and pet products. So there's a lot to choose from. Unless you're a person, then you don't want to take the pet products because that's designed for pets. Now, because of FDA rules, super lame I know, CBD companies can't make health claims except to say that CBD supports overall wellness, for example. But I can say whatever I want because it's my show, and I can definitely feel a positive impact when I use BlueBird's products. I even took it with me on a recent 8-day backpacking trip in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That's on top of Muir Pass, big climb there. Now, everyone's endocannabinoid system is slightly different, so you have to try some of BlueBird Botanicals CBD products for yourself and see how it helps you. And because they're an awesome company, like I said earlier, they want to hook you up with 25% off your first order. So hit up BlueBirdBotanicals.com and use promo code ROOTED25 to test out their CBD for yourself. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. You gotta check them out. BlueBirdBotanicals.com, promo code ROOTED25. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Our podcast preview is brought to you by our good friends over at Enlighten. See beyond and check out their enterprise technology solutions at getenlighten.io today. Let's go ahead and bring in the Enlighten video wall, as this week on the podcast we talk with Ashley Picillo, the founder and CEO of Point 7 Group and TimberDocs, in addition to being the author of the book Breaking the Grass Ceiling: Women, Weed, and Business, where she profiles a number of female entrepreneurs in the cannabis space, sharing their amazing stories and invaluable advice. Here's a sneak peek of our interview.
I think the media has painted a picture of cannabis being a very female-friendly industry, and I don't necessarily think that's untrue, but I do think that those numbers that have been reported are, in my opinion, extremely inflated. And actually, when I was going through this process and interviewing these women, I was pretty disturbed to find how many of them have actually been ousted from the companies that they started. And I set out to write kind of a happy, feel-good, like normalization piece about cannabis. And I think it is that. But I was really surprised to learn how many women in my immediate circle were experiencing that, where they grew the business to 3 million in sales or 5 million in sales, and were basically being told that they weren't good enough or qualified enough to get the business to the next level. And it really became a theme.
Welcome back to the show. As you can see, we've left our Enlightened video wall up because we want to tell you about yet another awesome podcast we recently recorded. This one with hemp expert Annie Rouse. Annie is the co-founder of Anavii Market, where you can find premium verified CBD, like BlueBird Botanicals products, by the way. And she also writes and hosts the podcast Anslinger, the Untold Cannabis Conspiracy, which is an incredibly researched and eye-opening podcast available pretty much everywhere, so you have to check it out. Throughout our interview, Annie explains how hemp is different from cannabis, the crazy reason why hemp was made illegal in the first place, and why the evolution, or I guess revitalization might be the better word, of the hemp industry is long overdue. Here's a sneak peek of our interview.
But what's really amazing actually to see is the transition of the average age of the farmer getting into it. In Kentucky, and probably all over the U.S., the average age of a farmer is like 60, 65, maybe even higher. And now what we're seeing is this movement of a younger generation wanting to go back to the farm because they want to grow hemp and cannabis in general. So it's pretty cool to see that. And I think that that's something actually Senator McConnell saw when he came back to Kentucky a couple months ago and spoke with some people that were in the program as he looked around the room and thought, man, all these people are like under 40. This is amazing, So I think that's one of the really cool things about the hemp plant is that transition back to the farm.
You can catch the full version of both interviews at stayrooted.com, where we also have links to download the show via SoundCloud or iTunes. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to the show so that we can send you the latest episodes as we put them out. And if you'd be so kind, leave us a nice review if you like. Lastly, before we get you out of here, we have to share with you our favorite thing this week, which comes to us from all over the world, as countries across the globe continue to legalize cannabis in one form or another. The most recent of which is South Africa, who becomes the third country in Africa to legalize cannabis. South Africa joins Argentina, Australia, Belgium, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Croatia, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Greece, Israel, Jamaica, Mexico, Spain, and I could go on and on. All these countries and more have some sort of federally legalized policy. For decades, cannabis activists have been working to make immense strides in the industry, but the largest stride might come from simple peer pressure. As more and more countries legalize cannabis, you have to think the United States can't afford to be too far behind. With Mexico and Canada already making moves, the US sits sandwiched between two large economies who just added a new cash crop to their revenue arsenals. I don't know if these countries legalizing cannabis will impact America's timing, but I'm sure happy to see so many other countries see the upside, listen to their own people, and do what makes sense. Because of that, these countries are my favorite thing this week. Thanks for being so cool. That's going to do it for us on the show. Quick reminder to hit up the site stayrooted.com for more show content, like our social pages, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next week, I'm Tim Stromble, reminding you to work hard, be humble, and stay rooted.